This airline is all business class, that's right. 0 economy seats, only champagne, gourmet meals, and a bed in the sky for everyone on board. And can you believe you can try it for half the price of other airlines? Here's how.
Hello, Jet Setters. I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. We're about to cross the Atlantic on the airline. It's all business class, and you're coming along.
Here's the plan. We'll leave Paris-Orly Airport at 10:30 in the morning and fly for 8.5 hours to reach Newark. Well, the City of Lights was looking pretty gray when we were here in early December, but progress was being made on Notre Dame, which is great to see. Our morning departure meant arriving at the airport before the sun was even up.
Is it just me, or is it always raining in Paris? La Compagnie operates out of Paris-Orly Terminal 4. Now, this is the first time Suzanne and I have ever been here at Orly, and new airport is always exciting for us, so let's check this one out. This terminal has an interesting combination of airlines, everything from low cost to Royal Air Maroc and, of course, La Compagnie. Speaking of, when everybody's in business class, there's no priority line. Check-in doesn't open for about 10 minutes, so we're going to head inside and wait in line.
But this ground team worked efficiently, and we were through the line in about 10 minutes. Now, La Compagnie passengers are given fast-track access, which saves a bit of time in the maze that is Terminal 4. La Compagnie is a French business class-only airline, which started in 2014 flying 757s transatlantic. As of 2019, they now fly 2 A321neos, which make up their fleet. Currently, they fly from Newark to both Paris and Milan with seasonal service to Nice. It's an interesting business model, and we're excited to put it to the test.
We've probably not published these videos in order, but this is the end of a trip around the world. We started off in Toronto, then went to, New York, and then Tokyo, then on to Finland, and now Paris, and then back to New York. So quite an adventure for sure. And I just can't believe how fortunate we are to get to have experiences like this. And it's thanks to you all watching these videos, so thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. And anyway, back to your regularly scheduled programming. PlayStations in the airport? This place, pretty impressive for sure. This is a beautiful space, very impressive.
Our aircraft today is a 4-year-old A321neo, and an A321 typically has over 200 seats on it. However, our plane today, only 76 all business class seats.
La Compagnie kind of brands itself on being a well-priced business class, and it was definitely a good price. If you want to know what we paid, stay tuned. We'll let you know. I don't really know what to expect from the onboard experience. Do you have any expectations?
I really don't know what to expect. I'm sure it's going to be nice. I mean, a lie-flat seat across the Atlantic Ocean, that's always great.
Yeah, I'm curious how full-service business class it's going to be. It'll be interesting to find out.
Well, it's time to head to the lounge, and the La Compagnie ticket gets you access to the Primeclass lounge here at Orly. Now, you can also buy into the X-Time lounge. The situation's a little more grim at Newark, where they don't currently have a lounge partner. So instead, you'll get a voucher to use in one of the restaurants in the airport there.
First time at Orly Airport, and it is a sort of strange layout here. Some parts feel new, some parts feel old. It's a little bit of a maze. Let's go to the lounge.
The Primeclass lounge is a pretty nice space. Shortly after I filmed these clips, though, it got pretty crowded with several flights to the Caribbean, leaving around the same time as our departure. The breakfast buffet was well laid out and more than sufficient for a business class lounge. It's easy to forget how hard these coffee machines have to work, and the way this one poured made it pretty clear it was due for some attention or maybe a break. Even though it was cold and rainy, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to step outside and investigate the open-air deck here. It's hard to keep me away from the airplanes. As Suzanne mentioned, our A321 has 76 seats on it, but this one flying for Wizz Air has 239, 3 times as many as our plane. We're in for a real treat today. But this winter weather proved too much, even for me.
It's too cold. I'm going back in. Boarding starts 30 minutes before departure, and that's a benefit of flying a narrow-bodied plane. It seems like more and more airlines are starting to serve the transatlantic routes with A321s. SAS is doing it, Aer Lingus, La Compagnie, and others. What do you think the future of narrow-bodied planes is on transatlantic routes? Let us know in the comments below.
And after a quick stop in the shop for some last-minute needs,
it's time to board this bird. Next stop, Newark.
The best way to describe this cabin is simply beautiful. The sky blue and gray seats are classy, and the open and airy design is comfortable. We chose to sit toward the back of the cabin because, well, why not?
Welcome on board.
The seats offer plenty of legroom, and perhaps the most first-world problem I can articulate is the challenge of storing bedding in business-class seats. It just doesn't want to stay there. Eventually, though, we put it all in the overhead bin. The seats themselves are adjustable, but don't offer quite as much storage as other business-class seats on other airlines. Now, never mistake any criticism on this channel for a lack of gratitude. We just want to help you set your expectations if you decide to take a trip like this.
Boarding is complete like 7 minutes after it started. It's a benefit of these narrow-bodied flights across the Atlantic. You remember the last one we did?
Of course, the A318 on BA1.
BA1 was a flight operated by British Airways from London City Airport to New York via Shannon, Ireland on board an A318. Just like this flight, it was configured with only business class seats. And we took that trip back in 2019, but sadly, it no longer operates.
What an amazing trip.
Yeah, that was fun. That was certainly fun. And this will be too, but let's get this one started.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on board the Compagnie Airbus A321neo for our flight to Newark. 8 hours and 30 minutes to reach New York today, where the weather will be mostly cloudy, the temperature of 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
We made our way through the rain to eventually reach the runway and then head up into the sky. The seatback screens are bright and a bit reflective. Now, Wi-Fi is available to every passenger at no additional cost, which is not, but absolutely should be, the case on every international business class flight. There were plenty of choices on the IFE, which, to be frank, I was not expecting from such a small airline. This IFE is truly premium. It also displayed the order of service in both directions, which is great for passengers with round-trip tickets. It's just nice knowing what to expect and when to expect it. The tray table is sturdy, and the amenity kit is high quality with the basics. The highlight, though, it's definitely these socks. My headphones were finicky. It was difficult to get this custom connector to sit correctly, but once I did, they worked just fine. Everyone seemed to have settled into the cabin about 20 minutes after takeoff when service began with a warm towel. That was followed by a drink service with a choice of pre-packaged snacks. We continued our journey westward and soon crossed over the Irish coastline, overflying Cork. A tray with an appetizer, cheese, and dessert course arrived. The appetizer was duck, and spoiler alert, this was the best thing they served on the entire flight. Not that anything else was bad, this was just really good. The flavors were complex and the texture was smooth, which is more than I can say for myself. The airline only serves two wines, one white and one red. The red was the La Petite 2020 of Pomerol, which was mainly Merlot with a little Cabernet Franc. It was really good. I can understand why they'd only have one. The white was a Clos Floridienne Blanc 2021. It's 75% Sauvignon Blanc and 25% Semillon. There were also two choices for mains, a cod and salmon ballotine, which Suzanne had. It was a signature dish by chef David Dautin. It was flavorful and she enjoyed it. The lamb, which I chose, was tasty, but in an effort to find fault where there really is not any at all, I probably had a bit too much sauce on it. Put another way, this was a truly remarkable business class meal and definitely better than you'll find on many US carriers these days. La Compagnie has two A321neos and two more on order. On the one hand, they're much less expensive to operate than larger wide-bodies like that Delta 767 over there, but they're also slower. We're flying at 421 knots on our way to Newark, and that Delta airplane, it's operating at 442 knots on their way to JFK.
Seating layout is really ideal if you're traveling with a companion. If you're traveling by yourself, it might be a little bit exposed, a little bit awkward. What do you think?
I think it's great for this couple.
To be fair, getting out of this seat is a bit of a challenge. Well, unless you're a ballerina, I guess. Not too much to report from the lavatory. It's pretty basic without any real frills to it, but it'll do the job. Our flight at the beginning of December was about 2/3 full. Back in bed mode, the seat offers 75.5 inches of horizontal goodness. Unfortunately, the footwell and shoulder width are a bit tight. But at least you'll be comforted by French phrases on your pillows. Suzanne was a fan of the shoe bag, which gave her the opportunity to slip into those cool socks before slipping off to sleep. And getting out of bed without disturbing her during her nap was possible, but it would have been a bit more nerve-wracking if I were sitting next to somebody I didn't know. Before long, we were over Canada and service began again with less than 2 hours to touchdown. It was also at this point that I discovered the remote control, which made operating the IFE even easier given the distance to the screen. The pre-landing meal on these westbound transatlantic flights is always difficult. In this case, I had a vegetable tart, which was pretty tasty, and Suzanne had the pancakes. Both were carb-heavy. I really wish there'd been more protein available. As we enjoy the last few minutes on board by finishing the movies we've been watching, it's now time to turn our attention to the Jebscore for this flight. We'll use this unscientific system to rate the lounge, the seat, the food, the in-flight entertainment, and the service on board. As always, it's tough to judge an airline by one flight, but we want to give you a sense of what to expect if you choose to spend your hard-earned money on a trip with La Compagnie. First, the lounge in Paris is quite nice. As I mentioned, leaving Newark is not quite as luxurious given the fact that there's no current lounge partner, but at least you'll get a voucher. 3 stars here. The seat is comfortable. I just wish there were more storage and it were a bit wider for sleep, but it's still a solid seat. 4 stars. The food was a bit better than I'd normally expect in business class. The flavors were rich, and La Compagnie does a nice job reflecting French cuisine in their catering program. 5 stars here. The in-flight entertainment was fantastic. I had low expectations for what they'd have on offer, but there were plenty of choices, both older ones and newer ones. Plus, free Wi-Fi goes a long way in my book. More airlines should be offering that these days. 5 stars here. Finally, the service was friendly and well-timed. There were 3 flight attendants for as many as 76 passengers. So that meant lots of individual attention. 5 stars to them. Before we total that up, though, let's talk price. Clearly, flying business class is never cheap. However, if you're in the market, La Compagnie may very well be a great deal. Let me explain. We paid $1,725 US each for one-way tickets from Paris to New York. Aside from JetBlue, who has similar pricing to La Compagnie, expect to pay $4,000 or more one way on the majors. But since most people don't book one-way tickets like us, let's consider round-trip pricing. The mainline airlines charge a base price of about $3,000 for a round trip from New York to Paris, while La Compagnie is only at $2,400. But here's where you can really save. A round-trip business class to Paris from our home in Greensboro, North Carolina, or most other similar second or third-tiered cities, can cost over $5,000. But if you book that $2,400 ticket with La Compagnie and a separate ticket to Newark, you could get to Paris for half the price. That leaves La Compagnie with 22 out of 25 possible stars. But maybe the better assessment is to ask whether I would choose to fly La Compagnie again. And the answer is yes, particularly when traveling with Suzanne.
Between now and the next time, see you in the sky. Boarding is complete about 7 minutes after it started.
Messieurs, bienvenue à bord.
I'm not usually a cheese course guy, but this is sort of next level. This stuff is delicious and a little bit funky.